All right, then I'll go ahead and set it up, and Mr. McKay, Finance Director, will be carrying. Much of this information is what we've been discussing at the last couple of retreats, or excuse me, the work session and the previously from the retreat. But this is the public hearing for the FY24 budget. Robert will go ahead and expeditiously work through those slides, and hopefully we will get everybody up to speed with the proposal.
Good evening, Mayor, members of Council. Robert McKay, Finance Director. Tonight I have the pleasure of presenting the Town Manager's recommended budget. All right, the first slide, we talk about the budget process. So we have a budget calendar that we follow. It has key milestones on it, one of them being when the departments have to submit their budget request, along with the comprehensive list of fees changes. And the big one for tonight is the public hearing for the manager recommended budget. The executive team meets with all the departments, reviews their budget requests. We had a similar process this year as last year with asking departments to go back and identify mission critical projects, and that was a way that we were able to balance the budget. Our budget priorities, basically three priorities. We wanted to have a fiscal responsible budget that aligned with council priorities and the town's needs, utilize strategic financial planning for the future, and also invest in our employee retention and development. We feel like this budget achieved those priorities. So our initial departmental request, the budget was, the expenditures exceed our revenue projections. General fund was $13.1 million out of balance. Water sewer fund was 21.8, and electric fund was 3.6 million. We had 22 position requests. We only had initially 10 incorporated. So here's our 2024 operating budget, proposed budget. We took into consideration some economic considerations. The most recent CPI for April was 4.9%, compared to 8.3% for April 2022. What's interesting there is that this is the first time inflation has been below 5% in 2 years. So that's kind of gives you an indication where inflation's headed in the right direction. The Federal Reserve is still on course trying to rate inflation to their 2% target. They've implemented 10 rate increases since March of 2022 that total 5%. They meet next month. They could do another 0.25%, or they may decide to hold still. There's still a consensus that there's going to be some sort of recession projected to occur in late calendar 23 that could continue into 2024. So our major revenue assumptions this year is level tax rate maintaining at 60 cents per $100 evaluation with a 99% collection rate. Where ad valorem taxes and sales taxes will grow, and we expect our development revenue, building permits, to decline slightly. This slide here shows you where we're at with our expenditure budget. It's $45.7 million for the general fund, $42 million for the water sewer fund, $19.5 million for the electric fund, a little over $107 million total. Here's our new positions that were recommended that are included in the budget. We have 4 positions in the general fund and 2 on the water sewer fund at a total cost of a little over $530,000. This slide is a pie chart that shows you where our revenues are coming from. As you can see, approximately 45% of our revenue comes from ad valorem taxes, and 25% are sales tax based. Those are the 2 biggest sources. And the next slide shows you where we're spending those, how we're spending that money. Public safety, 28%, public services, 18%. Those are the 2 largest single areas where the funds are being spent at. Our capital improvement plan, if council remembers, case 1 was basically based upon taking the whole CIP, which is about $150.8 million. And that was shown, this is Davenport's analysis, it was shown that we would need approximately a little over 7.75 cents on alternating years beginning in 2025 to fund that. That really isn't practical. Case 2 is just taking the top 10 projects, and that would require a little over about 1.83 cents, rotating each subsequent fiscal year, or you could do an upfront tax increase this year for 4.5 cents, and that would cover it. Case 2A and 2B are the spin-offs of Case 2, where if we increase the tax 3 cents on alternating years, how much additional debt we could afford to issue to cover the projects outside of the top 10. And on Case 2A, that came to approximately $15.3 million. And if you issued debt in 2025, and in Case 2B, if you deferred that debt issuance a year, you pick up about another 1.6 million, or for a total of 17 million that you would have available to fund projects outside the top 10. And this slide here is the actual general fund CIP. It's kind of hard to see, but the top 10 are listed, and the bottom section includes all the other projects that were in the CIP for the general fund. Our utility rate recommendations, both the water and sewer funds have increases. We have a 5% increase in the electric fund and a 15.4% combined increase in the water sewer fund. And just to kind of give you a comparison, last year we projected a 5% increase for electric this year, so we're right on target with that. In the water sewer fund, we projected at 18.2 combined increase last year, so we're a little bit below that. We're at 15.4. The solid waste increase is actually $1.50. The budget message is correct, and it shows $1.50. The slide has two, but it's actually $1.50 to up to $24. There you can see the slide from the Black and Veatch rate model, where you see the recommended rate increases. Water 3%, wastewater 25.8, for a combined total of 15.4 in 2024. And then there's a similar side from 1898, who did the electric rate model with a 5% rate adjustment for 2024. This slide here is a customer sample bill, and it's based upon the average customer within the town limits, town system. So you can see on the left-hand side, it's the current fiscal 2023 rates, and the right-hand side is proposed 2024. Right now, this year, it's about $270, and a proposed budget for 2024, that's about $296. So a little bit shy of $26 a month increase, or 9.6%. Conclusions, both the enterprise funds are going to need rate increases to refund investments in the system, replace the aging infrastructure, and maintain their financial health. The town, we're still experiencing growth, and that impacts all components of our operations. We got ongoing economic uncertainty. As council's heard before, our fund balance appropriations aren't sustainable in the general fund, and our success to our long-term financial planning, that's going to give us strong financial health. Some of these next charts are like our key financial history. This chart's a slide of our general fund balance. Unassigned fund balance is 11.1. Our operational target's 30%, so that equates to about 10.8, which leaves a little bit less than 300,000 to work with. Our minimum requirement is 20%, so that number equates to 7.2 million, which leaves about 3.9 available for discretionary funding, and there's a couple other options in there that displays various scenarios. This is our 10-year historical trend for sales tax revenues. If you look at this, our sales tax revenues projected to triple from fiscal year 14-15. We were about $3 million on 14-15. For 23-24, we're right about the $9 million mark in our sales tax revenue. So that gives you an indication how strong sales tax revenues have been. Our ad valorem tax revenue history is pretty close to how we budgeted. It's growing. We've got, like, I think this year, like I said earlier, about a 6% growth on our ad valorem tax revenue. Here's our utility sales tax revenues. Those are pretty flat for the most part. And I think they'll continue that way into the future. Our building permit revenues, as I mentioned earlier, you can see we're projecting a decline. They're actually going to be lower than what we budgeted for 2023, and that's carrying forward into 2024, where we're being conservative in what we're projecting based upon what we're currently experiencing the given economic conditions. This is just a slide with our debt service. That spike in 21-22 came about because we chose to pay off some debt earlier than the normal amortization schedule. This slide is just a general fund debt to expenditures, kind of shows you that relationship between debt service and our general fund total expenditure budget. This slide is a bar chart that shows you the component percentage of total for these various categories. Salary, as you can see, salaries and benefits and operating expenses and contract services are the two largest components in our budget each year. The next slide is a similar chart, but this is by function. So you've got general government, public safety, public works, recreation, culture, debt service. General government and public safety are the two biggest expenditures by function for the town. This slide is just simply a line chart of that same previous slide. It's a 10-year history. This is very similar to the other one, but it's a 5-year history. And what I'd like to point out in 22-23, the current year budget, we did the centralization of fleet purchases and public works. So you kind of see that spike in 22-23 on the public works. And then in 2023, in the proposed budget, you see that drop off. And what's happened there is we've isolated out engineering and engineering and inspections, we made them their separate departments. So they used to be in public works, and now for 2024, they're separate departments. So now they're folded in with the general government. So you kind of see how the general government is spiking up. Those are just some organizational realignments that are contributing to that. This last slide shows you the history, 10-year history of our revenue versus expenses. As you can see, we're showing that we expect expenses in 22-23 to be higher than revenues. And in 23-24, obviously, we got to have a balanced budget, so they're equal. And that basically concludes the manager recommended budget presentation. Any questions or?
Questions for staff? If not, I'll.
So for the water sewer fund and the electric fund, obviously the rate increases this year. The water sewer and the electric fund rate increases this year that you're proposing, the 5 and the 5.3. I mean, that was.
Yeah, it's electric is 5%. I'll get back there so I can show that for
I guess
you.
my question is, when you came to us last year, you talked about, I mean, you said that this is something that we're going to have to do this year.
Right, so last year we projected electric would be a 5% rate increase this year. And that's what it's actually turning out to be, 5%. And on the water sewer fund, last year we projected that the combined increase for 2024 would be 18.7%. And this year, actually, for 2024, it's going to be 15.4%. So we're, on the water sewer side, we're a little bit lower than what we projected last year for 2024. And we're right on target with the projection on the electric side.
Thank you. I just wanted to just point out, I guess it wasn't a surprise. I mean, it was something that we were expecting, that you would be coming to us this year and saying this, because you came to us last year and you said you would, this is what to expect this next budget cycle, and here you are, and it's not like I said, it's not a surprise.
Yeah. Well, if you look there, we're showing increases as we go out into the foreseeable future on both the enterprise funds, so.
All right, this has been noted as a public hearing. Anyone wish to speak, please step forward and state your name for the record. All right, no one wishing to speak. I'll close the public hearing. Mr. McKay, thank you for the update on the 2023-24 budget.